Okay, so in this piece of the video, we're going to be learning how to do a circular pattern, okay, and how to add angles to a construction line. So go ahead and click on the front plane and draw a disc, basically a circle. So I want you to draw a circle with a diameter of 7 inches, and I want you to extrude it by 1 inch. Okay, so it's a 7 by 1 disc. Okay, now from here, what we need to do is we're going to click on this front face, normal to, and I'm going to create my construction lines. Do you guys remember how to create construction lines? Or X and Y construction lines? All I have to do is just click on line, for construction, and then I'm going to connect. Notice I did not hit infinite. Okay, just for construction. I'm going to start, it's going to hover over the circumference until I see the yellow diamond. So I'm going to click there and take it all the way down. Okay, the same thing from this side. Okay, so I have an X and Y construction system. Now what I want to do is I want to put something at an angle. So all I have to do is I'm going to click on the line, and again for construction. But I'm going to start from here and go to the circumference. But notice it's at some angle. I thought I covered this last time, but maybe not. Okay, we did. Okay. So from here, I'm going to click on Smart Dimension, and then click on the oblique line, and then the x-axis, and put 45 degrees. After I do that, I can pretty much draw anything that I want on this line. So I can put a circle here. Okay. In that circle, I'm going to click on Smart Dimension. From this distance to this distance, I can specify the hypotenuse, not the x projection, not the y projection, the hypotenuse. Okay? So I can click on here, and I can say this is 2.0. And I can specify the diameter of this to be 0.75. Okay? Now once this is done, I can either create a circular pattern on a sketch or a circular pattern on a feature. So if I go to Features, Extrude Cut, and I cut this piece, now all I have to do is I just click on that cut, hold down the Control key, click on the circumference, right? And then go to the drop-down menu under Linear Pattern and select Circular Pattern. So I can specify how many do I need and how many, and if they're equal spacing or not. So I can say, hey, I want that many, and it gets equally spaced if I select equal spacing. So then when I select check mark, they're all there. Okay, is that clear? I think we covered that last time, but if you forgot it, please go back to the previous videos. So if you want to explore more with Revolve, all you really have to do is we're going to go back to the tutorial section. So if you click on the Home, Tutorials, and then there's an option here called Tutorial Set 2, I think. Yeah, so Tutorial Set 2. And there's an option here called Revolves and Sweeps in order to build a candle holder. Okay, so if you're still stuck on Revolve, make sure that you go through that and explore it before you start working on the homework. The more tutorials that you do, the more videos that you watch, the better you're going to be at this. Okay? And trust me, if you're not good at this, no one's going to team up with you for this project. You're going to end up doing it alone. Okay? You can't team up with people sitting next to you. They already have their team figured out. Yeah. Alright. Okay, so the next piece that we're going to cover is go ahead and create a 5 by 5 by 5 cube. It doesn't matter what plane you start from, right? It's 5 by 5 by 5, so Okay? Alright, so click on this plane. Normal to. And what I'm basically explaining now is this piece of the engine base. Now, two things that you have to know about the engine base. Engine head, sorry. One, this engine head is going to actually be attached to the engine base. So considering that the engine base had the two vertical poles, you would expect the engine head to have holes in order to accommodate those poles. Correct? So over here you're going to notice that the holes are located in this fashion. Now you have to remember, this is the top view. Okay, so what most students end up doing a mistake on is they end up flipping this over on the bottom side, right? But they end up putting these in the same direction. Well, hold on, you just flipped it, so these also should flip too. So you have to make sure that they're aligning with your engine base, otherwise when you come to assemble them, they're going to be on opposite sides. Okay, and that's not going to work out. So a way to check is, remember last time we covered hidden line view? Remember the hidden line view? So a quick way to check is when you're done, I can hit, okay, hidden line view and top, and I can see if my top matches this top. If it does, then perfect, I did the right thing. If I'm missing lines, that means I missed something. Okay, that's a quick way of checking. All right, so from here, I also noticed that in addition to the cuts for the holes for the piston, there's also a cut here on the base. Do you see that? It's kind of like a rectangle, and then it kind of arcs up, and another rectangle. Okay, and by the way, how do you think this arc here is done? Fillet, right? I just showed you how to do fillet today, so we can do that. Now, there are two dimensions here that tend to confuse students, 4.85 and 5. 4.85 is the distance to this vertex, okay? So the vertex here, the end of the engine head here, this is 4.85 above from the x-axis. 5 is the distance of the center of the fillet with respect to the x-axis. Okay? So let's go ahead and create this bottom base here. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to start with, so click on a plane, normal to, and then we're going to sketch a sketch or a rectangle. And I'm going to dimension it 1 inch from each side. And the height of the rectangle is going to be 1.25. Now in order to create that arc, again that shape is a complex shape, so it has to be a combination of different things, and then we have to use the trim option. So every time you see a complex shape, you should definitely start thinking, okay, this is a combination of simple shapes, and then I have to use the trim option. So for our case here, we're going to click on circle, and we're going to start the circle from the midpoint. It's very important that you start the circle from the midpoint of the rectangle. And then we're just going to draw some sort of a circle here, preferably like that. Okay, I give you the diameter of this circle. It's right here. I give you the radius to be 2.08. So how much would the diameter be? Okay, so apparently you don't know how to multiply. But we're going to click on Smart Dimension. It's a prerequisite for this class, huh? So if you don't know how to do 2.08 multiplied by 2, all you have to do is you say 2.08 multiplied by 2, and SolidWorks will do it for you. Okay? SolidWorks was built for students like you who don't know how to multiply by 2. It's like, oh my god, a decimal place? What can I do? Okay, now considering that this problem is not really to scale with respect to for the engine, I'm going to change this, and I'm going to make it about 3.5. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that multiplication feature, because I kind of had a hunch that you're not going to be able to do that multiplication, but I was right. Is there any math tutors here? Good. Oh, get on their case. Okay, so now we need to connect these in some sort of way. So we're going to go to line, and we're going to connect from this vertex to the circle, somewhere on the circle. I don't really care where. I'm just going to put it somewhere on the circle and hit escape. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So somewhere from here to the circle and hit escape. Now what I want is, if I have something that's like that, that's a very strong transition. So I want very smooth transition. So what do you think is a good relation to put between a line and a circle? Well, let's say you don't know what it is, right? The only thing you can do is click on the line, hold down the control key, and click on the circle and see what options are possible. Well, hey, Eli told us that never ever use the anchor sign. So the only other option is tangent. So if I go ahead and click on tangent, and then I'm going to do it to the other side as well. So click on the line, hold down the control key, click on the circle, and then select tangent. Okay, and go ahead and click on check mark. Any questions? This should be pretty straightforward, right? Okay. Now I'm going to go to trim. I'm going to clean it up. So look what I'm cleaning. I'm cleaning this one. I'm cleaning basically everything from the inside. I have to be careful when I'm cutting. Okay. Now something turned blue. You can go ahead and fix that on your homework by simply just adding another dimension. Right? All that we lost here is the height. So you can figure that out. Let me show you. Like that. Okay, that's all we lost was the 1.25. So now I'm going to go to Features, Extrude Cut. But it's very important to understand that the cut on the engine base does not start from the face. So what did we call that feature? How do we move this inside? We just talked about it like 30 minutes ago. Offset. So we're going to go to From. We're going to click on the drop-down menu, and we're going to do Offset. And let's go ahead and do an offset by 0.5. But notice how the offset popped in the opposite direction. It popped outside the body. I want it to be inside the body. So all I have to do is just click on the blue arrow. Okay? Now let's say the distance that I want it to be. If it's 0.5 from this side and 0.5 from the other side, how deep do you think it's going to be? 4. Good. I was getting worried. It's like 5 minus a half minus a half. Tell me what kind of airplane you're going to design so I don't go on that airplane or car. Okay? And go ahead and click on check mark. So notice that from the outside I can't really see it, but it's there. Okay, remember you're turning those bodies in, ISO, hidden. Okay, so that's how you're taking the screenshot. Any questions? If you're able, if your body for the engine head, you can actually see the cut. You can see a cut here or a cut here. You did it wrong. Okay, how can we have a cut in the engine? What kind of engine is that? Okay? Yeah. Yeah. The cutting? Okay. So I clicked on offset by 0.5. Do you see that? So offset over here. And then blind by 4. But you want to make sure that the offset is inside the body, not popping outside of the body. It should be inside the body. By simply clicking on that blue arrow next to offset.
So what does offset mean?
It will just move it from the plane that you actually drew the sketch on. So here's the plane that I drew a sketch on. So usually we select sketch plane, right? But now we're offsetting it. We're moving it away from that sketch plane. Any questions? No? Okay, great. So now I want to take this and I want to put it on the other side. So great, you want to mirror. Okay, pick a plane that works for you. Would the front work? Would the top work? Would the right work?
You're an offset with mirror?
Nope. What would you do? We add a new plane, right? It's very simple. If I want a plane to be located here in the center, all I have to do is just click on this surface and add a plane, and then offset it by 2.5. Right? Just like we did a second ago. We started from the front plane, we offset it by the radius. Same deal here. Okay? Now I'm going to show you a nice trick. If you click on the outer boundaries, so if you click on the outer boundaries where you want to create the middle plane, okay, so click, hold down the control key, and then click on the bottom, just like that. And then when you go to reference geometry, you hit on plane. It will automatically put a midplane there for you. Yep. Click here, hold down the control key, turn, hold down the control key, and click on the bottom. So you're clicking on the outer boundaries, the first plane and the last plane. Okay?
Where did you go to get the plane in the middle of?
You go to reference geometry and then plane. And it automatically adds a midplane. And then we can go ahead and click on check mark. Now if I want to mirror that option on the bottom, all I have to do is just click on the plane one, hold down the control key, click on cut extrude one. Right, so both of them are selected, and then I hit on mirror, and it should go on the top. Good? Any questions? So there you go. All right, one more deal. We have about 20 more minutes. So now you know how to do everything in regards to the head. Okay? I really recommend what you would do for the head. You start with half of it. Okay, and then you mirror the entire thing over. Not feature, sketch entities, like we did last time. Okay? Now, again, just like I said before, everything that we covered today in today's lecture is already here. So how do we do a revolve? Step-by-step instructions. Okay? How do we do offset? How do we do section? So I showed you how to do this. Then I showed you how to mirror it over. So it's mirrored. And then they're both there. And then how to offset them, step by step. Then your offset. You can see from the inside. How to add a fillet, and so on. Okay? So this is the first piece of it. Ignore the last slide that says homework, okay? Because the homework, I'm assigning all the parts this semester to be due on one day. Okay, instead of doing them in pieces. The second piece of the lecture is basically adding reference geometry, which we just talked about. So we start with a plane and we add many other planes. Okay, so all the exercises are here. There's no reason for you not to spend the time and actually go through them. Okay, they're very detailed and they're created like that for a reason. Now, you have one more part, and that part is the connecting rod. So for the connecting rod, I'm going to present to you 3 simplifications. Write them down. Now you can do the entire thing, but as minimum standards, I'm going to provide those 3 simplifications. 1, ignore that bulge over here. Do you see that bulge over here, that kind of bump? Okay? All you really have to do is do them straight. So do you see here where it shows it to you as it's kind of straight and then a bump? Just do it directly straight. So this is the diameter of the circle, and then directly straight. Now, that's the first simplification. The second simplification is here. Do you see that cross? It's okay if you don't do it and just leave it as a full circle. Okay? Clear? Good try. No.
What do you mean by the
This one, the bump here, do you see the bump?
Okay.
It's kind of like curvy. I'm okay with just doing it straight. Okay, so you don't have to do it bumpy on the sides. Okay? One more thing. Over here, I give you two fillets, right? An interior one and exterior one. Ignore the interior one. Ignore the 0.04. Okay, only focus on the 0.06, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. To do this part is very simple. This part does not require a lot of work, although it looks like it's complicated. It's actually very simple. The way that you're going to do it is, let me start a new part. We're going to start from the front plane. And I'm going to do it really fast here because you can watch the video later on, but I'm going to start with a circle. But my most important thing is definitely a construction line in the y-axis. If you do not have that in black, nothing's going to work because everything's going to be referenced with respect to this construction line. So I'm going to start with one circle, do another circle bigger than it, bigger than that, start with a line, do my line from here down, and then another line from here down. Oops. Why did I hit escape? Okay. So now we have these lines, and I can make them as long as I want, depending on, of course, the dimensions. But then I can go over here, and I can start sketching the general profile. Everything should be vertical. And again from this side. Okay, and then I can draw another circle here. Of course, since this is not dimensioned, I'm just going to add stuff now just to make it look good. Okay, then I'm going to trim. Okay, and I'm going to add one more circle here. And that's it. You're done. All you have to do is, you have to dimension it, of course. But features, extrude boss base, 0.5. Let's do 1. And you're done. Okay? So it's very straightforward to do it. The piece that I want to focus on is how to do a draft. So as you notice, the cut over here, do you see that cut here? It's not cut straight. It's cut at an angle. Although here it shows you the angle as being 105, you have to remember that when you cut at an angle, you have to measure from the horizontal. Where is this being measured from? From the vertical. So how much would it be from the horizontal?
$75.
105 minus 90. 15. Okay? Use your toes and hand, fingers and... Alright, so all we have to do, let me show you how to do one of them. So I'm going to go to sketch, rectangle. I'm just going to sketch any rectangle now. But notice that I told you there's a fillet. You see there's a fillet here on the corner. They're rounded. So now I know how to use the fillet option. So I'm going to click on this one and this one, this one and this one, this one and this one. Notice I'm doing all of them at one time, not many times. Okay, so I get this kind of rounded edges. So now the key thing is when I do extrude cut, instead of going straight down, there's a button here that's called draft. I'm going to click on that, and now it's going to be done at an angle. So I need to put 15 in here, and notice how it's kind of tapered in. Okay, so I don't want to cut it at 1. Let's say I want to cut it at 0.25, or let's say 0.5, and check mark. There we go. You see how it's tapered in? Now we just learned how to copy this to the other side, right? Because this is the connecting rod. It has a groove on this side and a groove on this side too. So we just learned how to do that. Add a midplane and copy it over. Any questions regarding stuff that we learned so far? The PowerPoints are online. I will upload the videos as soon as this gets done. But any other questions for me to mention before I stop recording? Is this clear? Are you guys enjoying it?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. F10. So going back to the drawing over here, I can definitely see that I'm kind of in the right direction now. Okay. Now we want to create that hole in the center. Well, one of the things that you're going to notice is, so even if you're not done yet, just keep moving forward. Just revolve something. Get a circular shape. Okay. If I come here and I try to click on any one of those the circumference over here, and I try to hit normal to, okay, it's not going to really give me that plane, because what's happening is this is a circle, so the plane is always being tangent to the surface. So really, I don't have one plane. I have infinite amount of planes around this circle. So I cannot draw on this surface. So what I have to do is I have to draw either using the top, front, right planes that already exist, okay, or I have to add a new plane here on the front. So I'm going to show you both methods. The first one is how to draw on existing planes and how to create that offset in both directions. And the second method would be by adding new planes. Okay? So for example, let's go ahead and click on the front plane. So using the front plane, I want you to just draw a circle somewhere here. And again, for you guys, you have to dimension it, but I'm not dimensioning it. I'm okay with blue lines for now. But for your homework, you definitely have to have it fully dimensioned. But I'm just adding that circle. And really what I'm drawing here is this circle here. Okay? Now one of the things that you're going to notice is, oh, look at that. The circle is actually inside the part. It's not on any surface. Okay? So it's inside the part. So now when I say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do Features, Extrude Cut. Before I do that, does everyone have this circle on the front plane? No? Okay, where's the issue here? Just don't worry about the divot. Just revolve it for now. You can watch the video later for the divot, or I can help you at the end of class. Okay, just get a revolve. Get some sort of a revolve. Okay. So click on the front plane, draw a circle. Just put it anywhere. I don't really care where. So just put it somewhere. Are we good? Okay. So we're going to go to Features, Extrude Cut. But we're going to notice that if we do, instead of blind, you see where it says blind? We're going to click on the drop-down menu and we're going to select Through All. But that is just cutting on one side. Notice how the arrow is just going on one side. Okay? I want to do it also on the other side. Oh, look at that. There's an option here that says Direction 2. So if I click on the check mark under Direction 2, okay, I can also select Through All from here, and now I'm cutting in both directions. Does that make sense? So although we use the top, front, right planes, the original planes, we are able to apply additional directions in order to cut or extrude boss base in both directions. Any questions on that? Yeah, what's up? Extrude Cut. Yes. Can you only go back? Who doesn't have this? Come on, guys, be honest with me. It's okay. We're here to learn. Okay.
I got lost. Back trying to get to the.
Do you have a circular shape?
No, I got lost after doing the divot. I tried to erase it so I could get to that, but then it won't let me go back to the box.
But do you have something that looks like this at least? No? Okay. So now you have the circle in the center. Go ahead and click on Extrude Cut. So if you click on Extrude Cut, now what we have is we want to cut it. We want to cut it all the way through. So we change blind to through all, and we're also going to change direction to through all, and we're going to hit check mark. So now notice how our cut goes all the way through. Okay, so that was the method of actually drawing on the front plane and cutting in both directions. I'm going to show you another method, which is drawing on the front plane and offsetting. Okay, so drawing on the front plane and offsetting. So for example, if I look at the drawing over here, I notice that I have that small square cutout. Correct? So one way of doing it is I can also draw it on the front plane. So if I go to the front plane, okay, actually before I do that that cutout, let me do it right now. Okay, I'm going to click over here and again draw that square somewhere. And again, I don't really care about dimensions for now. You have to do them for your homework. Okay, so notice that my square is also in the center. Now I want to cut it. So in order to cut it, really the cut is only on this face and the back face. It's not all the way through, so I cannot use through all. But I can use something called offset, and that is the exact same tool you're going to be using also for the engine head. So let me explain that. On the engine head, you'll notice that you have, come on. You'll notice that it's pretty much, it's closed from the top and closed from the front, but it's actually empty from the inside. So there's actually holes in here. You see those holes? Those are where the pistons are going to go, and they're going to do that motion when we start simulating them. Correct? So let me explain here how you read this. So we have the top, front, right as normal. But if I just want to see section AA, which is this slot, I can see over here. So basically I can tell that on this plane, the circles are oriented in this fashion. On this plane, which is this face, the circles are oriented in a different fashion. So you have to do one of them, extrude cut, the other one, extrude cut. Okay, so you cannot do them all at one time because they're two different planes. Now, if I draw it over here and I try to cut, it's going to take materials out too. So basically the piston is going to be exposed. What kind of compression chamber are we trying to create here? What kind of combustion chamber? That's not going to work. Okay? But if I zoom in here, I'll see that the actual cut is 0.75 away from the surface. Okay, do you see that? So 0.75 away from the surface. So what I can do is I can use something called extrude offset. So if I go to features, extrude cut, usually what we do is we have, do you see this thing over here? It says sketch plane. We're going to change sketch plane to offset. Okay? Does everyone have this? Please follow along. Okay? Now what do you think the offset distance is? The radius. And how much did we use the radius for this guy? So, exactly my point. No one can remember, right? So all I have to do is hit X. I can click on the edge here, and on the bottom I can see the diameter. So I can see the diameter is 6. That means the radius is what? 3. Another way of measuring it, I can use the evaluate tool. There's an evaluate tab over here, and I can click on the measure tool, tape measure, and I can click on the circumference over here, and it tells me the diameter is 6 inches. Okay? Or for example, I can click between two surfaces. So I can click on this surface, I can click on this surface, and I get a height between them, 6.5 inches. So that's the measure tool. Yes? Okay. Impressive. Okay, so now what we need to do is we're going to go to sketch, features, extrude cut, and I'm going to offset it. Now we know the diameter is, so we're going to, from offset, we're going to select 3. So you see how it's propelled forward? So you want to make sure that you actually know where is it going. Because for example, for your engine, instead of pushing it down, it actually was pushed up for the engine head. All you have to do is just click on that blue arrow, and you can actually move it whether it's in or out of the body. So if I click on it, notice how it gets projected to the other side. Okay? Now then we can specify how deep do we want the cut. So let's say the cut is 0.25. And then go ahead and click check mark. And there we go. Any questions on that?
Yeah, is the front is offset, the direction or anything? Is it still blind?
Yes, blind. Blind means you know exactly how much you want to cut it. So we know exactly how much the depth is of the cut, so we just use blind. Yeah.
Just a question of the drawing again.
Mhm.
The arrows, is that where your eyes are looking down onto it?
The arrows are the direction of your eyes that are pointing. So you're basically, the way that you do it is you're going to cut this, okay, and you're going to look, you're going to remove this bottom piece, you keep this piece, and you're looking from the bottom on it. Okay? So basically what you do is when you draw this, all you have to do is you just select this top face, okay, and then you draw these circles on it. So it's directly projected on here. And the same thing here, 1, 2, 3. Okay, good question. Yeah? Good question, exactly. Of course there should be a way. You're already thinking ahead of me. You're killing all my big moments today. I was waiting all night just to make like a grand point. Alright, so you don't want to do this another time, right? Because that will be a waste of time. If you do it over here and it's already applied, why not just copy it over to the other side? So in last time's lecture, we learned how to do what? Mirror entities. But we did mirror entities, which means we did it on a sketch. Now we have a feature. So we can do mirror feature. Okay, so here's how we do it. First, we have to think about it. In a sketch mode, in order to mirror something, we needed a what? Line of symmetry, right? Or a center line. Okay? Now, if I take that line, and instead of just being on a 2D sketch, if I take that line and extrude it on in 3D, what does that line turn into? A plane. So when I do a mirror of a feature, I need to select a mirror plane, not a mirror line. Okay? So, if I try to hover over front, top, right, try to find which one is the best option for me. So which one do you think is the best option? Front. So I click on the front, and then which one of those features do I want to copy? So then I'm going to hold down the control key, I'm going to click on whichever one I want to copy. Okay, so I select the plane, I select whichever one I want to copy. Okay, and then I'm going to hit, you see where it says mirror over here under the features tab? Yes? Look at that, it's already on the other side. So now we're going to hit check mark. There we go. P.S. Do not turn this piston in. Do it again, right? This is not right. This is already ruined. How bad can... Oh, I will. Wait for it. I'll do a Disney princess tonight. Okay? Alright, so now, does anyone have any questions on this? Does everyone have this? Now the last piece, go for it. The groove? Okay, we'll come back to this. Okay. Now there's one more piece, which is that slot on the bottom, right? That kind of cut. So first we have to understand, how do we do this? Well, after we do all these parts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you these drawings. I'm going to tell you, tell me if there's any errors on this drawing. And I'm going to tell you from now that this drawing does have an error in rounding. Okay? It's not major. This should be 0.275. But if you round it, it's 0.28. But the way that you read the drawings is you always dimension from this side to this side. So what happens is by the time you apply all these dimensions and you get here, it is already fully defined, so you don't even need this number. Does that make sense? So, if I go to the front plane, one of the options that I can do is I can draw this on the front plane, correct? I can draw this on the front plane, and I can mirror it over, and I can extrude cut in both directions, just like we did for the whole center, right? For the center hole. Another way of doing it is, what happens if I want to create my own plane? So here's the front plane. I want to create a plane parallel to the front plane, but I want it 3 inches away, so it's directly on that circumference. So all I have to do is I click on the front plane. Do you see where it says reference geometry? So I click on the drop-down menu under reference geometry, and then I'm going to click plane. Okay? So if I click on plane, I'm going to see a blue one that pops up soon. There we go. And over here, do you see where it says distance? So I'm going to put 3 inches. And I can make many of those. You see where it says kind of like the pound sign? I can put many of those in a row, or I can just need one. Okay? Any questions on that?
Can you go over the part again where you put the reference geometry and then change it?
Okay, so we're going to click on the front plane, reference geometry, and plane. And then over here on distance, we're going to put 5. Sorry, 3. Now, notice if you want to move this blue plane to the back, all you have to do is just click on the check mark that says flip. Okay? And now I'm going to hit check mark. So now what happens is I can select this plane as its own plane. So anything that I said before about not able to draw directly on this face, well, now I can on the plane 1. Okay? So I'm going to click on plane 1, normal 2. And here's what I need to draw. So take good attention of this. So sketch, line. I'm going to draw something like this. I'm going to start coincident, down, and I definitely need to close it. Okay, so I get something like this. So go ahead and do that. It's surprising how many pistons and different variations of pistons that I'm seeing on the computer screen. This is going to be a custom engine, huh? Does everyone have this? It's just lines. I haven't done anything fancy yet. How many of you have not done the tutorials yet? Be honest. Okay, so everyone did it? Good. Or someone is shy from saying? Alright, so from here, we're going to click on, well, notice that the drawing is really not straight here, right? So if all these circles, these are basically magnifying glasses. So A, I go to detail A and I see a blowout over here. And D, I see a blowout over here. So notice that this is not straight. There's an actual arc in here. So that arc, in order to get it, what I have to do is I have to go to Sketch Fillet under the Sketch tab. Okay? You okay? I know, it's so emotional. It's like I'm choking too. So go ahead and click on Sketch Fillet. Now I need to specify what's the radius of that fillet. So for our case, let's go ahead and select 0.25. And all I have to do is I just click on the 2 lines that are joined together where I want to connect by fillet. Do not call it fillet, by the way. Line, line. Okay, do you see that fillet that is created between them? And of course, you can increase it, but follow the dimensions that I give you and you'll be fine. Okay? Then I'm going to click check mark. So notice where my sketch is at. It's in thin air, right? It's not even on the part itself. But it's projected on the part. So now all I have to do, just go to Features, Extrude Cut, and I'm going to do it through all. So Features, Extrude Cut, through all. Any questions? Okay, go ahead and click on check mark. Now, of course, I only did one of them, but you could have either mirrored the sketch, or after you do this, you can mirror the entire thing just like we mirrored the notch. Okay, those are two possibilities. Any questions? No? Yeah.
Wouldn't mirroring a notch or never mind.
Okay. You had something. Ask it.
Well, you said, but I didn't remember exactly what you said. You said you couldn't do a revolve cut like that, would you?
Nope. Revolve has to be around an axis. Mirror is around a plane. Okay. Any questions on this?
So you mirror that plane right there?
No, not that plane. I have to pick a plane that is good. For example, the right plane. The right plane is in the center here. So I click on the right plane, I click on that cut, and I click mirror, and it gets copied over to the other side. Boom. Got it? Any questions? All right, go ahead and close this. So if we look at the piston, we notice that we have the top over here, the front, and the right. But some of the things that you notice is this cylinder, so to speak, has an axis of revolution. We also call it axis of symmetry. So if we end up drawing something, I could sort of slice it into a quarter. So if I grab this piston over here and slice it in half, I should get the same section, so to speak, on both sides, right? And if I slice it in a quarter, I should also get the same section. So what I can do is I can just take one slice out and just draw that. And instead of drawing extrude boss base, then a smaller one, then a big one, then a smaller one, then a big one, that's just a lot of features. What we're going to be using is something called Revolve boss base. So if we look at the right view over here, notice that it's symmetrical between this side and this side with respect to the center line. Okay? So what I can do is I can say, okay, since they're symmetrical, I'm going to ignore one of them. So if I ignore this piece and I just focus on this piece, then this is really what you're drawing. Okay? So just to show you a quick overview, and you don't have to follow along on this one, I just want to show you what you can do. So if I start a part and I go for inches. Now let's say you want to create, let's say a cup, right, a mug. Well, the mug has, again, the same cross-section. It's kind of like, if you look at the cross-section, it's just like an L shape that's been revolved around the center line, correct? So from here I can say, okay, if I click on the front plane, and if I draw a shape that looks like an L from the origin, okay, I can take this and I can go to feature. Don't get on my case if this is still blue. You have to fix them for you, but I just want to make a point here. Now if I click on Revolve Boss Base, now whatever the line that I select to actually be my axis of revolution is just going to spin it around. So if I click here, notice what I get. Okay, so instead of drawing an extrude boss base and extrude cut, I get this in one feature. Done. Okay, so now what I meant about using this for your flywheel, that I could go ahead and do my sketch to look something like this. And again, it has to be closed, and you dimension it, of course. But if I do a revolve boss base around this one, your flywheel is done. Okay? Did you get it? Okay, cool. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to figure out how to do the same thing for the piston. Now, one of the things that we should notice about the piston is it's actually empty from the inside. So instead of doing the profile as the entire thing, what I need to do is I need to kind of, okay, what if I just do this extra thickness, or this just the thickness of the piston, and leave the inside empty, so when I revolve it, just like I did with the mug, right, I end up with an empty on the inside, instead of going to the bottom again, drawing a circle and extrude cut. Another thing that we have to notice is there's that kind of divot on the top. You see that groove? And that is created from this arc. So how can we create that, and what can we do about it? So let's go ahead and start from the front plane. So open apart and go to the front plane. Spacebar, normal 2. When you watch these videos, make sure that maybe you can have like 2 screens, so you can be watching on one screen and like applying on another screen, or don't just like sit there watching and then expect to apply it. Okay, they're long videos. So, all right, we're going to start with sketch line. I'm going to start with something like this. So again, we always start from the origin. I'm going to go down, over. So this is our first notch. This is our second notch. Now here's a mistake that a lot of students do. What you have over here, do you see this groove? That is not accounted for when you do the revolve boss base. The reason for that is just on the front and the back face. If you put it as part of the revolve, this is going to be an entire cut all the way through. Okay, so this groove here, that's not part of your profile. So I'm going to go down, just take it all the way straight down, and then over, and then up. And you can see that yellow lines will actually orient you and the thickness of things. Or sorry, in the direction of things. So from here I can go ahead and start dimensioning this. And of course, because I expect you to do it on your own, I'm going to use different dimensions. So I'm going to use 1.5 for this guy. And then I'm going to use maybe 0.5 here. Do I have to dimension this to also be 0.5? Do I have to dimension every single one of these stats to be 0.5? What is the easy way of doing it? Relation. Great. So I can click here, hold down the control key, and click on this line, and now I can make them equal with respect to each other. Okay, so if I change this for any reason, then everything will change accordingly. And the same thing here. So I'm going to click on this line, hold down the control key, click on this line, and make it equal. Okay? Now I'm going to do a smart dimension for this guy over here, and I'm going to make it 0.3. And again, I'm going to follow the same standards. So this, and this are all equal. So notice that I was able to select all 4 of them at one time instead of doing 2 at a time. So that will just save you time. Okay? Now, what do you think this side is? How do I figure out the dimension of this side? Half of what?
Half of the diameter.
Exactly, half the diameter. So let's go ahead and select 3. And again, those dimensions are not the ones that you're using, but I'm just picking numbers for now. And I'm going to choose the height to be 6.5. So you should have a fully defined sketch. Now what happens if we grab this and we revolve it around this line? It's going to be solid. So how can we fix it? Exactly. So we can add an additional line here that symbolizes exactly how high we want it from here to here. Right? And everything else is pretty much trim. We can go to Trim, Entities, and we can take away this line and this line. Okay, and we still need some more dimensions here, so let's go ahead and make this to be 1, make this to be 2, and now make this to be 1.5. Okay, we still actually need this dimension too. Any questions? Yeah. So you click on something, hold down the control key, and you click on the other thing. So for example, if I want a relation between those two things, I click, hold down the control key, and then click, and on the side I should see possible relations. Exactly. Now if you want, what happens if you want to delete a relation? What do? You can either click on the actual green box and hit delete, or you can click on the line itself and you can see what kind of relations are linked to that line. Okay? Any questions? Is everyone good? Does everyone have this? Not there yet? Okay. I'm going to give you a second. So go ahead and look at the dimensions and check it out.
So how long did you make that other part coming down below the two notches?
This one?
Not below the two notches.
This?
That one there.
I don't really care for it because I dimensioned this side.
Okay.
So I dimensioned this side to be 5. If you're not adding relations, you can just use the numbers I already gave you. So if you don't want to add relation, you can just dimension every single one of those lines.
So to make your cut where it says 5 inches, you draw a line up in the border.
Exactly right, and you trim all the other stuff. Okay, ready? Now I'm going to go to Features, Revolve Boss Base, and what line should I click on? Exactly. So if I look here, it says Axis of Revolution. I'm going to click on this line. Now notice that I can either make it 360, that means go all the way around, or I can make it less by just decreasing the angle. So if I just want to make it like 180, I can do that. Okay? But for our purposes here, let's go ahead and select 360. Now, do you see a mistake here if I click check mark? I mean, it kind of looked like a piston. But what's the difference between this one and the one that I show you here in the drawing? The what? It doesn't have that groove on the top, right? That dip on the top. So how do we get that dip? Well, I give you a radius here, correct? So basically what I want you to think about is here's the center, and I have this giant circle that goes all the way up here, and everything is trimmed, and I'm left with this piece over here. And I tell you that the distance is 0.05. So how do we do that? We're going to right-click on Revolve 1, and we're going to go back to the sketch. Okay? And then we're going to draw a construction line. That is along the origin. Okay? Now we can put a circle on that construction line. And you see how it overlaps between the two? Okay? So my question to you is, how do you dimension the distance from here to here to be 0.05? Repeat the question or repeat how to do it. So how do you dimension, if I go here, I notice that I tell you the distance from the bottom of that arc to the top of the piston is 0.05. How do I do that? So I can click on point, I can put a point here, and I can say, hey, the distance between this point and this line is 0.05. Okay, of course my numbers are different right now, so it's not like that significant, but you can definitely see it. Okay? Now what do we do with the rest? This is not a good circle, right? I need to I only trim. So I'm going to go to trim, take that circle out, and then I have to definitely take out that extra piece from the piston. Okay? Now again, when you do trim, what do? What happens? You lose some of your what? Dimensions. So you have to come back and redimension some of those things. But now if I go and hit check mark and purple arrow, I have that divot in here.
How did you do the big circle again?
Yeah. So I drew a construction line. Okay, I drew a construction line on from the origin, and then I just clicked on circle and started from that construction line and just drew a circle somewhere here.
How do you have the extrude or revolve thing with the circle line? Because when I do the extrude revolve, it like drains out everything, so I can't do the circle.
Yes. So what you do is you right click. I can't do it right now because my circle is still blue. You right click on revolve and you click on the second icon. It says edit sketch. That's how you go back into the sketch. Okay. So from here I can go ahead and trim. So trim, trim, trim. And then I have that divot on the top. That dip on the top. Any questions on that?
How do you get back into the sketch map?
You right click on revolve and you go to the second icon, edit sketch. Any questions? Okay, you're either really getting it or doing something else because I don't see it on your computer screen. So when I say any questions, this is the point that you ask me questions. Or not. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You have to click on that line to actually revolve it. You have to tell it which line is the axis of revolution.